Last week, a federal district court judge in New York by the name of Denise Cote actually decided, preliminarily of course, but an interesting case, that the we figure it's an old spiritual called "We Shall Overcome." You all know what it is. We shall overcome. That one is not the copyright protected work of Pete Seeger, which is the way a lot of us of a certain age always sort of thought of it. Maybe he was inspired by something earlier and maybe he wasn't. And Seeger himself was always a little ambiguous about that. Well, the judge, in hearing a case by a group of plaintiffs who think that "We Shall Overcome" should be in the public domain and available to all of us, decided that those plaintiffs had made enough of a case that she's willing to hear evidence and possibly hold a trial and to see whether the work should be determined to be in the public domain, and that is free for use by all of us. This may sound familiar to you. A case about 6 months ago, actually brought by a similar group of plaintiffs, including some overlapping people, got a court to say that the famous song "Happy Birthday," yes, "Happy Birthday to You," that one was not the copyrighted property of Patty and Mildred Hill, to whom it had been credited early in the 20th century, but in fact was a very, very old song, was nothing special, had been added to it recently, and therefore was no longer, it had never been entitled to copyright protection after sometime in the 1930s, and in any event was no longer entitled to it today. Third song that is currently being discussed for the same purposes is "This Land Is Your Land," the old Woody Guthrie song from the 50s and 60s. And that too, people are saying, was a much older song that Guthrie simply adopted from folk music and didn't add sufficient new information to make it copyrighted. So where are we? Well, it turns out that some of these songs that we always thought were kind of old maybe really are. And the plaintiffs in this action, the one before the judge currently in New York, are sure hoping that they shall overcome.